Hello everyone, what's up? What's up? How have you all been? And this is again your average Indian sportsman, Nagaditya this side. Hope each one of you has been in good shape, health, and doing great as always. So we are here back again, with again something very interesting, very peculiar, and something which should interest you, as Indians, as youngsters, or maybe across age groups. The topic which I'm gonna bring up front has to do with guns and rifles. So, and a bit of military history, how things evolved, how did military equipments evolve, uh, specifically pertaining with the rifles, assault rifles. So the topic for the day is assault rifles, and the information which I would be sharing, again, I have again picked these up from different YouTube sources, but those were in those had immense detail in them. And so what I would be doing, presenting whole of that information in a brief manner, and that again should interest you, so, and hope this also inculcates a sense of interest, how military hardware and equipments are evolve across the globe, and how did the present generation of equipment which are being used came into being, since the time of World War, and since from 19th century to 21st century, how has the world progressed in terms of assault rifles. So the story begins from the Second World War, when an average infantry squad in the battling European nation, the nation which were at loggerheads with each other, yeah, uh, the nation which were fighting each other in the Second World War. So an average infantry squad consisted of around 8 to 12 men, and they were divided into three different categories. There used to be a machine gunner, there two machine gunners, and two submachine gunners. And to support these four machine gunners, there used to be a squad varying between 6 to 8 people. So these 6 to 8 people used to use rifles. Rifles, those were not automatic, but bolt would have been bolt action or semi-automatic, which didn't have as many rounds as the machine gun, but their primary job was to defend the machine gunner. And so the primary power center used to be the machine gunner. So there was a machine gunner and there was a submachine gunner. So submachine gunner used to carry a machine gun which was not as powerful as the main machine gunner. So two machine gunners, because one who would be firing the gun, another one to so as to support him in firing, maybe assist the main guy in loading up the ammunition, or being a backup for the primary gunner. So there were these four people who were managing two different kind of machine gun, one the primary one, and the submachine gun, which was smaller in size, and the ammunition which were there were smaller in size than the bigger machine gun. And same was followed by the same distinction was followed by the riflemen which were there. And so what had become was there had come into being three different guns which were being in use. And this particular formation had become a headache so as to manage the supply chain, because the armies used to also had to had to keep supplying different amount of ammunition to their infantry squad, which were huge in number, and they were all scattered around. So as to maintain a supply line, it was becoming a task for the supply chain, so as to provide three different kinds of ammunitions to these infantry squads which were there. And then what came in front, then what emerged as a new innovation was a German rifle that was that was uh, named as Strapgammer. Strapgammer, that was a German name given to that rifle, and that was similar in similar in uh, similar in shape, to what we have, to what the assault rifles are there in use these days. So that was something very innovative, which the Germans had come, and it was a benchmark that was being crossed. But the time at which the Germans had come up with this particular assault rifle, by that time, Germans were already on the back foot, and the Allies and the Soviets were pressing down the Germans, and they were already on the words of losing the war. So what had happened was, but of course, the the Soviets and the Americans didn't miss any chance, and as and when they used to get hold of any fallen German soldier who was carrying this particular rifle, they used to send it back to their own research and development departments, because they found it very fascinating, and very very modern in its function as compared to the rifle Americans and Russians were using. And what they found were, the series of round, the shape of the size of the ammunition was around 8 mm. So 8 mm, I would, drawing parallels with the ammunition being used in the assault rifle today. AK-47 also had varied versions. It has 3 versions. So presently, primarily the assault rifles have 3 versions. That is 7.62 mm. That is the AK-47 standard, round. Then there comes 5.46, that is AK-74, 5.46 mm, that is the AK-74 round size, and there is the NATO standard size, that is 5.56 mm. So eventually, as and when the Second World War progressed, the Russians and Americans also would have studied upon this particular German weapon. And then there came this man called Kalashnikov. So this genius from Russia, worked upon his own model of a rifle. So coming back to the story, there, as I said, there are 3 different weapons being used, and so as to supply them with the different ammunition, it was becoming a task. So this particular Kalashnikov, came up with his own idea of an assault rifle on a similar lines to what the German rifle also was looking at, but the mechanism was totally different. The mechanism was so good that the rifle didn't used to fail, didn't used to fail in any of the condition. It was didn't used to jam also. So it was so well thought of, and it was so well engineered that it had no parallel, the Kalashnikov. And still you find the mechanism. It's the Kalashnikov is one rifle that has no parallels, and it's the most widespread and easily accessible assault rifle around the globe, because of its mechanism and its engineering, which this guy from Russia, Kalashnikov, had come. And so by the time the World War had already got over, and it had the production of this particular rifle had become a hit, and across the globe, not just the Soviet nation, but the other nations also had started producing copies of this particular rifle, and it had become a success. And still it has been, this particular rifle is you would find it in the hands of different militaries and militias again, and even for the terrorists also, is considered as their favorite weapon, because of its functioning. It doesn't get it doesn't malfunction at all. So then there came this, the America went loggerheads against Vietnam, and during that time the Vietnamese also were getting support from the communist Soviet regime. So that time Russians were providing the Soviets, the Vietnamese, with their AK-47 assault rifles, and the Americans were equipped with their own M16 series assault rifle. So the size of the ammunition in the M16 was a little smaller than what the Kalashnikovs had. That was presently what the NATO size is, that is 5.56 mm, and Kalashnikov 7.62 mm. So the model which these assault rifles had come was that it had a mix of all these qualities of a machine gun also, as also a rifle also, so and a submachine gun also. So basically so these three qualities were, so the primary aim was to the primary aim for the primary aim for the people to have come up with these assault rifles, especially the Kalashnikov, was so as to negate the impact of different ammunition being negate the impact of sending different ammunitions to the infantry squad. So instead of three different kinds of ammunition, Kalashnikov or the assault rifle could easily match their qualities. So an assault rifle is what has a good range, similar to almost similar to a machine gun, is automatic, which also is which has different options of automatic, semi-automatic also, which machine guns also have, and it has more round than what the earlier rifles used to have. So it functioned as an all-round weapon, and was great at firing. And so the assault rifle, to be precise, has qualities of all these things. It's a machine gun also, it's a rifle also, it's a mixture of both, and it is very handy. So machine guns is supposed to be very heavy, and it just can't be carried, and it's just not very locomotive, it's just not very movable at all. You have to place it at one place. On the contrary, the assault rifles can be carried very in a very handy manner. So during this, coming back to the Vietnam War, during that time, when the Vietnamese were shooting at the Americans, and so the casualties towards the Americans were felt, because seeing the size of the ammunition the Kalashnikov had, AK-47 had, was immense. But on the contrary, when the Vietnamese were getting hurt by the M16 rounds, that was the smaller round. So that time, the impact of that was more than what the Kalashnikovs had, because the smaller the round, these rounds were injuring the Vietnamese, and getting injured and getting casualties, casualty due to injury and casualties due to being killed in action was very different, because killed in action, you need not even look at the person back. On the contrary, if the person is injured, he's in a he creates panic because he's injured, and you need more people to so as to safely translocate that person to a safer spot. So that was wreaking havoc. This particular smaller rounds were wreaking havoc on the Vietnamese. So the similar information would have been sent back to the Soviets, that the round which these Americans are using are smaller in size, and this is making the situation more chaotic, because these rounds are not killing the soldiers. On the contrary, it's just injuring them, and those injuries are hard to, because the bigger the round, it would just penetrate through. The smaller the round, it would create more damage, and it would be more painful for the soldier to bear the pain. So that was this distinction the smaller rounds were making. So the Russians also came up with another version of the smaller NATO size, the M16 round. They also came up with another series of automatic Kalashnikov, that was the AK-74. So these also had similar smaller rounds, similar to the M16 round, and these were 5.46 mm in size. So the NATO size is 5.56, and this was more smaller in nature. So then this gave birth to the AK-74 version of the automatic Kalashnikov, because and these smaller rounds had higher the range then as compared to the 74 round, that was 7.62, because that was much bigger in size, and the ballistic the ballistic quality of the bigger round being fired from a assault rifle wasn't at the range. The impactful range wasn't as high as the 74, and the recoil of the 74 AK-74 gun also was lesser than the 74, and hence it became also a preferable choice for the Russians, the Soviet special forces, which later on were being sent to in the Afghanistan conflict. So basically the research used to happen on the ballistic qualities of these different ammunition types and the gunpowder in them. Americans also became wary of the AK series rifle, and the Russians also became wary of the American style of the assault rifle. So what happened then was, this is what the story revolves around, the assault rifles. And now presently there are immense amount of series of assault rifles being produced across the globe. The AK series itself has abundance of different models which have come up, and the M series again have moved to new heights. Their M4 model and the AR model and number of other models, which if you are interested, if you have any interest in the ballistic capacity of different ammunition types and different guns and their mechanism, you must go and research it across on the internet. Hope this video gave a good insight for you, so as to you to incline more towards weaponry and warfare tactics. And thank you so much. It was a pleasure again.